Welcome back to AI Unraveled, your daily strategic briefing on the business impact of artificial intelligence. It is December 30th, 2025. Today we are looking at the consolidation of power. Nvidia has made a $20 billion move to swallow up its fastest rival, Groq, effectively turning the chip wars into a one-sided siege. Meanwhile, China has unveiled the world's first ideological Turing test, a 2,000-question exam that every chatbot must pass to survive in the mainland market. And if you've been on YouTube lately, you aren't imagining it. A new study confirms that 1 in 5 videos recommended to new users is now AI slop, garbage content generated by machines for machines. But first, we have to talk about the Pentagon's new recruit, Groq. Let's unravel the news.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a little different. We aren't looking at a month or, even a week of sources.
Nope. We're zeroing in.
We are focusing on a single hypercritical day, December 30th, 2025. And this one day, right at the tail end of the year, it somehow managed to capture the entire trajectory of where the future of AI is actually being built.
That's so right. We took your sources. It was a mix of things, right? Analyses on a major hardware deal, some open source benchmarks, and a really in-depth interview with a Google Cloud expert.
Right.
And what we found is that the AI reality of 2026 was, well, it was being forged in those 24 hours.
The sources really show 3 distinct power moves, all unfolding at the same time. First, you've got this intense war for speed and talent in hardware, where, billions are being spent to secure the future of silicon. Second, the undeniable and rapid rise of these powerful open source models coming out of Asia.
Yeah, that's a big one.
And third, this difficult but really crucial reality check that's happening inside businesses about what an AI agent actually is. And maybe more importantly, how to use it safely.
Our mission today is to cut through the noise and just show you why these 3 movements, when you take them together, they fundamentally define the state of play. This isn't just a list of announcements. This is structural change happening in real time. It's dictating where the money, the talent, and the compute will flow next year.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Before we get back to the show, I have a question. When was the last time you actually read a 100-page federal regulation? If you work in healthcare or tech, missing one clause in Bill C-27 or the new CMS interoperability rules isn't just boring, it is a $10 million liability. That is why I built JamgaMind. It is a new audio intelligence platform that uses advanced AI agents to decode complex laws into 5-minute executive briefings. We just launched our Canada and USA series. Stop reading the fine print and start listening to the risk. Join the simulation today at jamgamind.com.
We have to start with the chips. We just have to. Because speed is the ultimate currency. And that currency just cost a massive amount of capital.
It really did.
Nvidia, already the undisputed sovereign of AI infrastructure, just made the largest acquisition in its history.
And it wasn't even a full company purchase, which is the crazy part.
Exactly. We're talking about a reported $20 billion licensing deal for the core technology from the AI chip startup Groq.
$20 billion. Just for the tech and the talent. That's an exponential number even in this AI landscape. Just 3 months ago, Groq was valued at, what, $6.9 billion?
Yeah, after raising capital from huge names like BlackRock, Samsung, and Cisco.
So the value of their core assets literally tripled in a single quarter.
So, okay, but if Groq was valued at $6.9 billion just 90 days earlier, isn't $20 billion an insane overpay, even for a major technological advantage?
Well, it's an overpay if you're only looking at the valuation of the hardware assets, sure, but it becomes a necessary strategic defense when you factor in the threat.
The threat.
Yeah. Nvidia isn't just buying speed, they're buying threat mitigation. Groq's LPU chips, their language processing units, they were actively threatening the GPU crown.
With performance claims of what was it?
10 times the speed at a fraction of the energy. A fraction. That kind of efficiency, if it scales, it could destabilize Nvidia's entire business model for running LLMs.
So the $20 billion price tag is basically a colossal insurance policy to protect their future market dominance.
That's a good way to put it.
But the sources really emphasize that the true story here isn't even the hardware. It's the talent stockpile that came with it. Groq's CEO Jonathan Ross and President Sunny Madra are now at Nvidia.
Absolutely. And the names matter deeply here. Ross isn't just any executive. The sources remind us that he was instrumental in creating Google's competing TPU chips.
The tensor processing units.
Right.
So this is the silicon that rivals like Google and, well, increasingly Amazon have been designing in-house.
Exactly. Specifically to try and chip away at Nvidia's market lead.
So this is pure, high-level strategic defense.
Purely. Nvidia is making sure that the key minds who know how to build effective custom silicon for their biggest rivals are now under their own roof. It just aggressively secures their intellectual fortress for years to come.
Okay, so moving from the hardware war to the model war. This same day, December 30th, gave us a huge data point about the pace of innovation coming from beyond Silicon Valley.
Right, we're talking about the Chinese startup Z.ai and the release of their coding model, GLM 4.7.
And this was a genuine breakthrough moment.
It really was. For open source globally, GLM 4.7 achieved a score of 73.8% on the SWE bench.
So for listeners who may not be tracking coding benchmarks every day, why should that number, 73.8%, really resonate?
Okay, so SWE Bench is a real-world test. It's designed to see if an AI can act like a competent software engineer, fixing bugs, applying complex code patches from real open-source issues.
So it's not just a theoretical test, it's practical.
It requires deep understanding and execution. So hitting that score makes Z.ai the first Chinese lab to officially break the 70% barrier. It shows it can handle complex, multi-step engineering tasks on its own.
And it wasn't just a good score in isolation. They surpassed major competitors.
Oh, yeah. GLM 4.7 outperformed open rivals like DeepSeek v3.2, Kimi K2, and even an established player like Claude Sonnet 4.5.
And what's key here is the accessibility and the momentum.
Exactly. Z open sourced the model weights on Hugging Face immediately, so developers can use it, integrate it right now. Plus, they're expecting a massive $300 million raise through a Hong Kong IPO.
Which is just fuel for the fire. More powerful versions next year.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the pace of these open source releases from China is just relentless. This score, it really strengthens the prediction that 2026 might be the year a Chinese frontier-level open release actually catches or even exceeds the top Western models.
We saw other hints of this too, right?
Yeah, on the same day. Like the Alibaba-backed Minimax M2.1 releasing powerful capabilities aimed specifically at mobile and web app development.
It's clearly a global race, but there are unique hurdles in that region. I mean, we saw the detail that China's AI regulations uniquely require chatbots to pass a 2,000-question ideological test.
Right. It creates this unique tension. They have to satisfy these really complex requirements for compliance and, ideological alignment right alongside raw capability. But despite that hurdle, the technological output is still incredibly high, and that 73.8% on SW Bench proves it.
All right, now we have to shift gears completely from bits and bytes to boardroom strategy, the AI agent reality.
This was a fascinating source.
Yeah, one of our sources was a deep dive interview with a Google Cloud expert, and it reveals this massive confusion enterprises are facing about what agents actually are and how to use them.
The expert offered a very clear technical framework, which I think is essential for understanding agents today. They defined 4 necessary components because the big misconception is that an agent is just the LLM.
Right. The LLM is the foundation, but that's just step 1. So what are the other 3 pieces?
Okay, so piece 2 is connecting tools, giving the LLM hands to, interact with APIs, databases, your existing enterprise software. Piece 3 is the really complex part. Orchestration. This is where agents actually live. Managing a complex, multi-step process from start to finish, not just answering one question.
And the 4th piece.
The runtime environment. Essential for business. It's the scalable, stable place to build, monitor, and scale those agents reliably across the whole organization.
The big misconception they pointed out is that too many companies are focused purely on the chat side of things.
Yeah, thinking of agents as just a replacement for a conversational interface.
And thinking chat first just severely limits the scope.
It really does. The expert argued that companies should be thinking about background agents, the ones solving traditional multi-step tasks focused purely on an objective. Not just mimicking human chat or replacing one simple manual step. This is about real transformation, not just automation.
And this leads directly to the core barrier for adoption: trust and quality. The sources stress that security and governance, they just don't matter if the product quality isn't there to begin with.
Trust and quality are completely linked in an enterprise context. This is why the tech improvements we've been seeing are so critical. I mean, the news that same day showed Claude Opus 4.5 capable of nearly 5 hours of complex work.
Right, and GPT 5.2 X High hitting new benchmarks.
Exactly. As those underlying models get better, the quality of the agent's output improves, which is the only way enterprises will find the trust they need to actually scale these things.
But agents introduce entirely new security risks, right? Specifically things like prompt injection and tool abuse. How is the industry addressing the fact that agents can be tricked?
This is forcing a fundamental shift in how we think about security. Instead of treating an agent like a human user with a profile and permissions, the source detailed Google's approach to mitigating this risk.
Which is?
They're moving agents from acting like a user to having a principal identity. Basically, it's an object within the cloud infrastructure itself.
Okay, what does that mean in practical terms for security?
Yeah. It means the agent is viewed as a piece of infrastructure, not a person. And this allows the system to enforce what's called least privilege. The agent only has access to the bare minimum resources it needs for its specific task.
So if a bad actor tries to trick it,
The infrastructure just denies the request. The agent's identity was never assigned that permission. It mitigates the risk at the system level, not the user level.
moving beyond the tech for a second, let's talk about the people problem, the organizational gap. This insight was, for me, one of the most powerful takeaways from the entire deep dive.
It absolutely defines the current moment. The observation was brilliant. Technological capabilities are advancing on an exponential curve, but organizational change happens on a logarithmic curve.
It's so much slower.
So much slower. The technology is sprinting ahead, and human culture is just taking a gradual, measured walk.
That slow pace, it creates a lot of friction. So where is the leverage point for successful adoption then?
It relies entirely on workforce comfort. Success happens when employees see these agents as additive, not as replacements. The most powerful uses are where agents are informing employees, providing a level of context that exceeds a human's mental context window.
Synthesizing data a human just couldn't gather fast enough.
Precisely.
And that leads right into the question of how we should even view these things. Are they tools or are they digital coworkers? The farm analogy the expert used was perfect.
It really was. The difference between a working animal and a pet. Organizations are wrestling with whether to humanize the tech, give it a name, a personality, which can close the gap from fear for some.
Or
Or do they dehumanize it? Keep it strictly as an API running in the background, a silent working machine. The choice depends more on the company's culture than the AI itself.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The biggest misconception isn't about chat versus background tasks. It's the idea that agents are just here to replace the same old workflows.
This is so critical. The expert pointed out that so many enterprise processes, their governance structures, they date back to the 1940s, 50s, 60s.
Systems built for paper and typewriters.
Exactly. Think about a process that still requires 7 signatures on triplicate carbon copies.
We're still running global commerce on governance built for physical constraints.
We are. And the mistake is just automating those old, inefficient processes. Simply replacing the human who types in triplicate is a catastrophic error.
So what's the alternative?
Agents should force a complete redesign of the business objective. They shouldn't just replace the typewriter. They should eliminate the need for the paper entirely by handling compliance and contract definition in a totally new way.
Looking ahead to 2026, the expert painted a future where our interactions with AI become less obvious. It just blends into the work.
Yeah, we're moving toward a reality where agents are defining contracts, making complex economic transactions, managing assets between organizations, all autonomously.
That's a huge shift.
It will unlock massive new capabilities for business, for trade, for supply chains. It'll force PMs and designers to stop focusing on low-level data coordination and start focusing on much deeper systemic problems because the agents will just handle the cross-functional logistics.
Okay, before we wrap up, let's just hit a quick synthesis of the final military and regulatory events from that same day.
Sure. On the military front, the Pentagon announced a partnership with xAI. They're aiming to embed Groq-based AI systems directly into GenAI.mil as soon as early 2026.
Which just shows that military adoption of these frontier models is speeding up fast.
And finally, regulation is always playing catch-up. Italy's antitrust authority stepped in, ordering Meta to suspend WhatsApp terms that were barring rival AI chatbots.
So the regulatory battle over interoperability, over making sure no single player can fence in the agent ecosystem.
It's clearly heating up.
So what does this all mean?
What December 30th, 2025 showed us is that AI is moving from being this interesting tool to being fundamentally structural. The $20 billion hardware deal secures the infrastructure. The Z.ai breakthrough confirms the global speed and quality of competition.
And the agent conversation shows AI is becoming deeply functional.
Exactly. No longer just a chat interface, but the backbone of future organizational commerce.
We discussed the technology moving at an exponential pace, but the organizational culture moving logarithmically. If we're truly moving towards agents defining contracts and managing assets between organization structures that have been stable for decades, since the days of typing in triplicate, how much pressure will the rise of these autonomous agents place on the established structures of global commerce, forcing that logarithmic curve of change to finally bend and catch up? That's something for you to mull over as you integrate these insights into your world.
That wraps up today's briefing. The signal for today is verification. Whether it's the Pentagon vetting Groq for military-grade security, China verifying the ideological purity of its chatbots, or YouTube struggling to verify what content is actually human-made, the next phase of the AI economy isn't just about generation, it's about validation. And a quick heads up for the developers listening, Cursor just bought Graphite. If you thought your code review process was safe from automation, think again. The loop between writing code and merging it just got a lot tighter. This podcast is created and produced by Etienne Newman, senior software engineer and passionate soccer dad from Canada. Please subscribe and share. Until tomorrow, keep unraveling the future.